We got to finish strong.
I always like them when these breaks come because then there's just all this buzzing activity around here. It's fun.
Awesome. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to this conversation. So if you would real quick, just give us your name, who you're with and what you do.
So my name is Natasha George, and I'm with Harani Engineering and Land Surveying. I've been a senior CAD tech now probably for the last 10 years or so.
All right.
In this industry completely for 18 years.
Good for you. How did you get into this industry?
So originally started with GIS, working with the Forest Service,
Nice.
doing cartographic mapping for about 6 or 7 years. And then I worked for a company called Element Engineering, who migrated me into being a surveyor.
Cool.
And I've been doing surveying ever since. Now, absolutely love it. I'm just gonna get my state license and federal exam, and I'm be a licensed surveyor myself. So
that is exciting.
Last stages.
Yeah.
All right. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah. So you've been in the industry or in the business, let's say, for 18 years. Have you worked out in the field as well as in the office?
I've done a little bit of field stuff when I did the Pasco County stormwater inventory. When I live about 2 hours from Orlando, we're on the West Coast.
Yep.
In Pasco County, and so I did a lot more drainage stuff and hazardous evaluations and stuff like that on manholes and inlets and water flow and all that kind of stuff.
Yep. Talk about your company a little bit and why it's such an awesome place to work.
So I say about 80% of our company is all remote, which, and along with when COVID happened, a lot of people migrated into remote work. I happened to find this company out of Long Island, which a majority of, like I said, everybody is remote, but we do have people in the office. We also have an engineering and BIM side of our company. And a lot of them work in-house, and then, but unfortunately, because I live in Florida, I don't get out in the field as much being remote.
Yep.
So, there's a little bit of challenge, we've kind of buckled down on the workflows and things like that and gotten everybody on the same page. I think it's been working out pretty well. Now we have a nice, cohesive staff going on right now.
That's
so
important. How big of a company is it?
It's fairly small, I would say. Probably less than 200 staff.
Okay, well, that's good size. So good size.
Less than that,
Yeah. So you talked about, or you mentioned your workflows. Since you're here, I'm assuming TopoDOT is part of that workflow.
Yes. So I primarily am, I guess, the TopoDOT guru for the company.
Nice.
I probably know the most about MicroStation. I do some Civil 3D, but mostly MicroStation and TopoDOT. And we do some Carlson and Trimble type of work as well. And then I think our main challenges would be working from different platforms because we have a lot of clients that want civil deliverables versus MicroStation deliverables. My primary, I guess, work recently has been with the MTA, which is the New York Metro Transit Authority. Nice. So we've been doing a lot of platforms and mezzanines and utility surveys and things like that.
Cool. So you're scanning all this, obviously.
Yeah, we use static LiDAR. Static scanners. And then we started doing Pix 4D aerial ortho imagery to do drone work.
Okay.
So that's
we know them well.
Brand new aspect. A colleague of mine named Ian Whitaker. He's been our drone guy. And let me tell you, this aerial photos stuff, it's amazing. I mean, I can zoom into a manhole and look at the cover of a manhole. Like perfectly, it's kind of hard even with TopoDOT. You can't really can't make out some of the stuff all the time, so it's been a really nice addition, to get some of our work done.
So why do you love TopoDOT so much? I mean, you've been using it for quite some time. I see you've got the bronze Titan member badge.
It's funny, a colleague of mine always called it point cloud fever after a while,
I've not heard that. That's good.
You're in a room with these people that know what a really tight, nice point cloud and what that looks like. And I hate to interject. Have you ever seen that show Severance?
Yes.
It's like Severance where they're staring at the screen of numbers and no one else can see what it is, but to them it looks like something, and then all of a sudden it pops out of almost like a magic eye image.
Because I've been helping and training other colleagues, and have never seen point cloud don't know
Yeah.
anything, what they're looking at. And I'm like, oh, they, there's a manhole, there's that, there's this. And like, they're like, how are you seeing that? I'm like, because I've been doing it for so long. I can just look at it and tell you what I'm looking at, or I'm like, oh, just pull a cross section. They're like, what is that? So, but I really like using it. I guess it's for the efficiency, and making my life a little easier, as far as like creating topographic maps and things like, because I came from a GIS background. It's a lot different, everything's database bound, and more mobile. I guess like GIS meant a little bit more mobile, where I like the more accurate side of like surveying, and how TopoDOT has really been able to capture like scanning. Plus it's been a lot safer for like the crew, and not having to like send, mass amount of crews out to do conventional work, where you can just set a couple guys out, scan it, and
Definitely.
it saves a lot of time.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
it's made our life a little bit easier.
Yeah. So how do you think you said you had a GIS background before you got into surveying. How did having that background benefit you?
So with the GIS, like I did cartographic mapping. So even though I work for a private company, I did the USDA Forest Service recreation and administration maps. So I was very detail oriented, making like those foldable maps that you buy at like, little side of the road kind of thing. And I helped do all the Florida National Forest maps and everything, go buy one, and created it. So I think that background, that detail. Also, I lived in drainage world and utility world for like a very long time. I did a lot of the SU work, which is the subsurface utility engineering.
Sure.
Yep.
So I did a lot of SU work, which prepared me, I think, for this survey aspect of my life or my career, because now I have that experience. So I can do underground utilities. I do utility coordination, which we do all of that at Harani, we do it all. So we have a girl that we work with, and her Kanya, she is like our utility person. So she'll send out, the request for all the utilities. We get all the records, we evaluate them. We do a lot of elevations. A lot of our clients want elevations on manholes and inlets and inverts and things like that. So we're mapping a lot of utilities along with our topos. So we're doing full topos, but we're also giving them a full utility survey. So it's both. Yeah.
So do you have a GIS group at your company then? Like, are you still able to dabble in that as well?
I think there is some GIS people, but I will be honest, since I want to say 2015, when I was a GIS manager back then, and the guy I worked with, his name was Pete Matson. I just remember this conversation I had, and like I was in my 20s then, and he was like, I'm going to make you into a surveyor. I'm like, okay, I don't even know what you're talking about, And he's like, no, trust me, by the time I'm retired, he's like, you're going to be at the paving the way in this industry. And now I have this background of
That's awesome.
all of this stuff that I know, and it's really helped me in my career, moving forward.
It's almost like you've done it not in reverse, but
kind
a
of
different path. And I have to think that it seems like you're well more prepared for the profession than the other way, because then you got all these people like, oh, then figure that you're less resistant to things like GIS and extraction tools.
Yeah, so I used to like people like, oh, what software did you use back there? I'm like, we didn't even this was TopoDOT wasn't even around then, so we had little handheld GPSs. We'd be walking around like campus, with these little handheld things and like the big heavy equipment.
Plus or minus 20 feet.
Oh my gosh, it was horrible. The accuracy was not good at all, so to be able to have super accurate data now is amazing.
Game changer.
Well, what are some of the challenges that go with that? Is it other than just data size, the size of the
I will say challenges have been between the registration aspect, because I don't do a lot of the registration. So, and like I did a class yesterday where I started to do some of that stuff, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot that goes into this that like I don't see on my end, where like I just request the data, they give it to me and I run with it. But then half the time I'm like, you cleaned it too much, or you're cutting out this, or it's too big, or it's, and it's hard to get that communication, especially when I'm working remote, because you're not there, to sit down with them and kind of go over things. So there is a little bit of the communication problems, so, but I will say that as far as like, the registration side of it, I think I'm going to start learning a little bit more of that aspect, because it's going to help our, at least our group, in on the back end to get the data prepared for our other techs and stuff
Sure.
forward.
Sure.
So they're not having to worry about things like Ian and I will go and set up everything for them, cleaned up, everything's perfectly ready to go, and then they're not having to worry about all this extra stuff,
Right.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
those have been a lot of challenges.
Yeah. And one of the things I want to circle back on is you mentioned a gentleman that like got you into surveying basically. So it sounds like you had a really good mentor,
Yes.
starting
And
out, which is so important.
Colleagues, communication stuff. I stay, friends with a lot of them. And he really did like pave the way for me in a sense, because I tell you, I never looked back. As soon as he told me I'm going to make you a surveyor, I'm like, okay. And I never had worked with MicroStation before, never worked with Civil 3D. I was ArcGIS, ESRI, all the way. And he's like, I want you to start doing baseline references and benchmark cards. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know what a control point was. I didn't know anything. Nothing at all. I just had my GIS. I had my bachelor's degree, in geography and GIS, and I have a dual bachelor's in GIS. So, I mean, I knew the mapping aspect of it, but I didn't know anything about like the statistical side of it. I didn't know any of the math side, or I didn't know what an alignment was. There was like all this stuff. So everything I've learned has been self-taught.
Yeah, that's
I
great.
self-taught myself MicroStation and worked right into TopoDOT. And then I learned it from one or two people, and then I just started going with it. And I self-taught myself Civil 3D. I mean, it's just been
Well, you've got the like,
Yeah, the basic tool, like you've got a good starting point to teach yourself Civil 3D. I mean, there's a lot to it, but you're familiar with that environment.
Yes, yeah. And I work more with MicroStation. I can work with Civil, but it's like riding a bike. If I don't do it for a while, then I'm
Right.
like, okay, what are these tools again? So
Sure.
but I'm mainly the MicroStation TopoDOT person. Like I was telling a friend of mine I just met this week. I'm like, I don't even have an IT person I can go to. Like there's nobody in our office that like I can go to ask questions.
right.
So I'm like, so I'll call TopoDOT up. Can you tell me it's like, I know this has nothing to do with TopoDOT, but it's like a MicroStation TopoDOT question, and they'll help me. So like their customer service here is phenomenal. I mean, of all the companies that we've worked with over the years, I will say TopoDOT has probably the best customer service.
You've heard that from a lot of people.
Hands
We
down.
have.
Yeah.
It's a common theme.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So being here,
Yes.
have you been here the last couple of days?
Yes, I've been here all week.
Okay. So what's a couple takeaways so far, and what are you looking forward to?
So I will say the class, there's a lot of information, kind of like all in one. I'm looking forward to, because I went on the advanced track this week. But I'm looking forward to tomorrow and Friday because I picked certain classes that I wanted to take. So, and getting into more little advanced, tools and stuff like that. Because there was some stuff like I stayed after a few classes, just tinkering around with the stuff because sometimes when you learn it, and then you walk away and then you're not going to use it again for another week or, and then it's like, oh wait, how do I do that again? So I would have liked for them to like teach a lesson and then give us maybe 10 or 15 minutes to use it versus just like one example. Like, like I had the brake line class, which he has, we did a couple examples, but then it was like, it was over, you couldn't really like,
You wanted to try
I
it.
wanted to
Like,
keep
yeah.
trying, kind of making sure like, if now what happens if I do something wrong? Like, how do I fix it? Or something like that, just to maybe get a little bit more practice.
Yeah. I think it's
after
really good
learning
input.
it.
I think it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I'm sure they're going to listen to this and be like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Like, so
Yes.
instead of maybe, if you have an hour and a half class, keep 20 minutes at the end.
Yeah.
Instead of just Q&A
Yeah.
to just sit down here. Here's a lesson.
Yeah.
Go in and extract this,
Yeah,
100-mile
sure.
or 100-foot section or something and ask or say like maybe what you might have problems with instead of just doing little examples here and there. Might be some.
Yeah. I like it.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe they're going to incorporate that in 2026.
Oh,
It's
I'm-
the 10-year anniversary.
They usually listen. So
So I knew that they did this, and actually Zach taught the class earlier. He's standing right there. Is that you can actually click the little bug button and it says like report a bug, but you can actually request for them to enhance
like
the
features.
tools.
Yeah.
And I remember in the past that we needed to customize something. It was
Yeah.
the brake line extractor, and we were doing some asset identifying and some other stuff. And they actually customized it to what we needed, and sent us a patch, and we ran it, and it was customized to what we needed, and it had an extra little tool set that we could use. So I actually said, I'm like, there needs to be a ruler measuring tool in this element adjustment tool. You need to be able to measure, a 6-inch curb or something with a lot of vegetation or overgrowth. And they said there isn't. There's a scale bar, but if you zoom in and out, the scale bar goes with it. There's not a way to measure that little curve in that tool, So I'm like, just add a little measuring tool in there. And he's like, that's a good idea. Like, I've been wanting this for years. He's like, oh, all you got to do is
I could do that in 5 seconds. And
just go write a little bug report, but request the enhancement. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. Trust me, I'm going to do it later.
That's great.
So yeah, that's a good idea. A lot of people might not know that.
It's tough.
That might be something, more people start using.
Yeah, I would imagine. So before we let you get out of here, this has been a great conversation. We've covered a lot of different topics. It's been awesome. Is there anything else you want to get out there?
I'm actually new to your GEOHOLICS. I thought it was very interesting yesterday hearing you guys talk and everything. So where are you guys from again?
Phoenix.
Phoenix. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My sister lives out in Tucson. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe we'll bump into you in Phoenix.
Yeah, never know.
Come to the studio. We'd have a great time.
So I would just say, everybody who's listening, just keep working hard, and I think this conference has really helped people kind of like network together.
That's great for
and
that as well.
ask questions, don't be afraid to really ask questions. Like I know in like some of these classes, like they're all like, oh, has anybody got questions? I'm asking questions all throughout the class. I'm like raising my hand, like, okay, wait, what about this? Like don't be afraid to ask questions, and that's what we're here for. I need to learn. Like I'm supposed to go back and teach my mentees what I learned. And if I'm not asking questions, how am I going to learn to teach them,
What do they say? Like the only dumb question is the one you don't ask.
Yeah, that's right.
You're like, oh, wait, I should have. Oh,
and people think like, I didn't want to look stupid, You
I
gotta.
get the front. I started in the second or third row and I started to wrinkle myself to the front because I'm like, all right, I can't even see this board.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you for your time.
Yeah,
It's been great.
appreciate you
Great to
coming
meet
by.
you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Yeah, appreciate it.
You bet.